Hi and welcome to my video of the Envision of the Sustainable City Part 1. I'll be going over my homeland, the city of Bogota, Colombia. This picture right here shows a good representation of what the city looks like today. I believe Bogota is a good example of the four generators of diversity by Jane Jacobs. One of them being a good mixture of buildings from different eras, such as contemporary, modern, and old. The second one is densely packed. It has a lot of high rises. Another one, Bogota has short blocks, so it's a very walkable city. And the last point I'll be going over towards the end. The second picture shows the overall design of downtown Bogota. This public space was designed back in 1917. It has a man-made river and that goes, I believe, around 20 miles long. And it's a good example of the mixed transit there is in Bogota. So it has spaces for pedestrians to walk and for riders to ride their bikes. And it also has designated lanes for public transit and regular transit. This next picture shows the neighborhood of La Candelaria, which I used to live there, I think, until the age of 7. Back there you can see the mountain of Monserrate. I used to live very close to that mountain. This picture shows the neighborhood, the overall design of the neighborhood, which is colonial, that date back to the colonial times. And not very far from it, that's what I like about Bogota. Everything is close to each other. You can walk to whatever location within 10 to 15 minutes. Not very far from this location, from these buildings, you can find the Gold Museum, which is very famous in Colombia. Speaking from a street perspective, the sign of the street is mixed, so there is enough space on the public realm for big crowds to walk. Across from this street right here, you can see there is bike routes, and across from that street there is residential buildings. And what I like about Bogota is that even though its overall design is like from the 2000s, this building right here has represents the last point of the fourth generator of diversity by Jane Jacobs. This right here represents the more than one primary use, being that this building has residential and commerce in the first floors. You can see there is people using this space. Some people have suits. Maybe they're off the clock, of work, taking a break, having lunch. You can see them there using the public space, sitting on the concrete benches. And I believe across from that corner, it's the Chamber of Commerce. So maybe people who work there are taking a break. And what is funny in this short video is that if you pay close attention, there's a no parking sign, and drivers still park their cars there. So just a heads up, if you ever go to Colombia, to Bogota, drivers don't pay attention. They don't obey the law. So they park where it says not to park. They never stop on stop signs. So just be mindful. Going to the next picture, the government closes some of the main streets to allow people to ride their bikes, and they provide a temporary bike route on Sundays and holidays from 7 a.m. to 2 p.m. And it's a very well-known activity for Bogotanos to ride their bikes. I didn't do it much because I don't like riding bikes too much, so yeah. And lastly, more personally, I went to a private school, a Catholic private school called Colegio Corazonista. And what I liked about my school is that it had a lot of greenery, and you can find a lot of greenery in the city of Bogota. And the weather is good, so it allows this flora and fauna to sustain. In my school, it had a lot of green spaces and a lot of athletic fields, such as like soccer field, tennis, basketball. It had spaces for hockey, to play hockey, and to skate. It had swimming pools. So it wasn't only dedicated for education, but it was also dedicated towards the athletes. And aside from these athletic fields, it also had recreational spaces such as the lake park, which also functioned as a zoo. The school had multiple species of animals, such as like ducks, ostrich, bunnies, a lot of breeds of birds, fish, and so on and so forth. And on the end note, as a second year student of architecture, I promised myself to design not only for the client but for the users of the building. So I just want to keep in mind to always design sustainable and keeping in mind the well-being and the physical being of the user. Given all these factors of the use of the public realm, how it interacts with the environment of a city, and how it transcends from the public realm to more of a private space.